Hello everyone, welcome to another session of Link Graph webinars. Let us know where you guys joining from. We will wait just for a couple minutes for other attendees to join and then we can get started. So for those who don't know me, I am Fidan Alzada, Marketing Manager at LinkGraph, and I will be your host today with Dennis. Today we will focus on Facebook Ads Wizards Toolkit, where you will learn the tactics top meta partners use to optimize their Facebook ad campaigns for maximum return on investment. And let me introduce our featured speaker, Dennis. He is an Associate Director of Paid Media at LinkGraph. With over a decade of experience in online advertising, he had the pleasure of collaborating with huge brands like Swarovski, Vogue on global PPC campaign. And which he will today, we would love to hear from you. So please leave any questions that you have in Q&A section. Also, all those questions will be answering during our webinar as well. And I'm gonna just wanna give the word to Dennis.
Thank you, Fidan, for the introduction. Nice to see you all over here. Yeah, so today we're gonna be talking about Facebook ads and basically a lot of high-level techniques that you can use, and I'm gonna give you a lot of resources that you can go and look at and explore yourself to become basically a pro at this. There's there's many things that I've seen in my career with Facebook ads, especially with like external agencies and stuff like that. It's hard sometimes to understand what they're doing and what they're not doing, and so this toolkit will give you a lot of visibility on what the most important things are on a Facebook ad and what you should focus on as well in a changing environment. We're going to talk a bit about privacy, about cookies, and all these kind of very interesting things that are constantly changing, and how Facebook ads are impacted by these things and how you can get around it. So I'm going to quickly start with 4 points over here. By the way, let me know if you can see the slide okay. So these are basically 4 points. There's many more, let's be honest, but these are the 4 most important and the stuff that I see the most on Facebook ads account, which are poor targeting. So obviously without an understanding of who you're targeting, who your audience is, your ad can reach basically anyone, and you don't have you don't have a lot of control over that, because you're just saying to the Facebook algorithm, hey, just target these people who may be interested in this stuff, but you don't have any guarantee. Like the targeting can be pretty broad, and I will show you how to adjust that. So again, if your ads don't reach the right people, obviously your engagement is very poor, your clicks are poor, your engagement metrics are poor, your conversion rate is poor, etc., etc. So targeting is the very first thing that you should focus on, and I will show you how to approach it, how to approach defining who your target is and what to use to define your targeting in the best way possible. The second option is inadequate budgeting. So this is also something I see a lot. So there's, Facebook ads, advertising in general became very expensive. And you need to understand that if you want to go into a channel like this, you need to have clear expectations, right? And this is something I always say to people that want to start Facebook ads. I'm like, you need to have some budget behind it. But don't be scared, because there's 2 things over here. There's budget and time, right? So if you don't have a lot of budget, then you need to have a lot of time, and you need to be prepared to spend months optimizing these campaigns, right? And before you see results, it's going to take some time. Why? Because the algorithm, the Facebook algorithm, Facebook ads algorithm needs time to learn and needs to spend money to deliver your ads to people, because they need to understand which person is converting, which person is not converting, etc., etc. And the only way to do that is to show your ads. And to show your ads, you need to spend money. So you understand that there has to be a balance over here between the budget and the time. And you need to understand and have clear expectation that if you have a lot of budget, you will get results faster. If you don't have a lot of budget, then you will get results slower. It's not that you won't get results, you will get them slower. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. Number 3, weak ad copy. So I see it all the time. There's much, many Facebook ads that I see are very sales pitchy. And they don't really focus on engaging the person and spread that message out. Which is a problem, because we don't like to be sold stuff. When you go and scroll on Facebook and Instagram and you see, especially in a B2B environment, ads that try to sell you a service, you're probably not really engaging with that. You're skipping those. You're not very interested, right? Because you're on Facebook, on Instagram, you're scrolling through your stories or through your feed. You're off work, whatever. You don't want to have B2B stuff reminded to you all the time, right? It's not the same thing for every business. Like in B2C businesses, like e-commerce, clothing, particularly stuff like that. It works great. Even have a sales pitch, saying, I don't know, if you have offers like 30% off XYZ. That works because people, when they scroll on Instagram or Facebook, I do it all the time. Sometimes I just see an ad and go to the product page of whatever business, and then maybe I purchase, maybe I don't. But it's a behavior that is normal with people who use social media on their phone all the time. But the ad copy is very important, and it's very important to also test a lot of different strategies. It puts me on the 4th point over here, which is lack of optimization, which is a very broad, it's a very broad term in that sense, because optimization can be, again, in a weak ad copy. Weak ad copy means that doesn't explain the value of the product that you're selling, doesn't speak to the person looking at the ad. So if your targeting is off and you have a weak ad copy, that's a recipe for a bad ad and for an underperforming ad. And there's many other different things. And lack of optimization is also related to all of new privacy, all of new features. Apple, your new iOS updates that had been rolling for basically, I think, a year now, where you can ask for traps to not track you. You need to have cookie consents on your consent banners on your website, and people need to accept personalized advertising. So you need to be up to speed with all of these things, because it's just getting, the advertising world, we're just talking about Facebook now, but in the advertising world, everything is shifting to a privacy-first approach, and you need to be prepared to have those changes implemented, because otherwise your strategy will find yourself trying to patch, holes in your strategy, and that's not great. So I suggest to start right now to inform yourself about these things. I'll give you resources as well on how you can do it and what you need to do to optimize for privacy-first approach.
So Dennis, Stefan is asking if you have seen the higher performance with ChatGPT and creating strong ad copy.
So that's a good question. I've seen the answer is yes and no. ChatGPT is a great tool to write ad copy, especially if you just have an idea in mind and you don't know how to put it on paper. It's great, but what I always say is test. So have a ad copy that you write yourself that is very human, very simple. Have one written by ChatGPT, see what works best, and then retaliate from there. But definitely stuff like ChatGPT or even our own Search Atlas software, Content Creator, are really good softwares to to create ad copies, especially again if you just have an idea of an ad copy, and you don't have time, or you don't want to, or whatever. Try to make it into a paragraph or into bullet points. ChatGPT is it's a very, very great option. So definitely use it and test it, but don't rely solely upon it. I'd say use it as an addition to your strategy.
Thank you for your answer. Also, Sarah is asking, should ad copy ask for an action? Like, should we include words such as click, book, or rest schedule?
Yeah. So it depends on where it depends on the stage of the funnel your prospect is in. I'm going to give you an example. So usually the way I like to build Facebook ads, and is I wouldn't say it's a rule, but it's something that is very easy to understand for people who want to implement this kind of thing, is to divide your ads into 3 groups. One is awareness, which is top of the funnel awareness of your ad. One is consideration, which is middle of the funnel, and one is bottom of the funnel, which is like sales and pitchy stuff. So when you are trying to reach as many people as possible within your target demographic, which should be your first approach, I wouldn't use any call to action in the copy, but I would be using it in the ad itself. I will show you in the next slide what I mean by that. But I will try to use call to actions and any like sales pitchy stuff as the bottom of the funnel strategy. If you're not doing a full funnel strategy, you don't want to drive awareness, consideration, sale, for whatever reason, if you want to try that approach and you want to go straight for the kill, then yes, use call to actions. But in my personal experience, I always found that if the person doesn't know your product, or you don't have a lot of brand awareness to begin with, then it's better to funnel down people through awareness, consideration, and sale first. And so your first ad copy would have to be very explanatory, would have to be illustrating, it could be a story, like a story or a testimonial of a person who used your product or stuff like that. That doesn't tell, do it, try it. It's just a story, just a testimonial, because people can see it and engage with it. And then a different, for, when you go down to the funnel from that ad, then yeah, you can use more call to actions and stuff like that. But again, like for everything, just test different stuff. Like Facebook is great in that sense. It allows you to test different ad copies, so you can test one with no call to actions, one with call to action, and see what fits. Also because every audience is different, and that's very important to understand, that there's not a cookie cutter solution for these things. It just depends on your audience. There's stuff that are universal, like these 4 points that I'm showing you right now. But when you come to the actual practical stuff, then it changes between businesses. So the best answer is to just test. I know there's another question from. Oh, you're on mute, Vidan, I think.
Sorry, guys. So Kaigon is asking, would you agree creative is even more important than copy?
100%, yes. Creative is probably the most important thing of any Facebook ad. So 100%, that should be, once you define your targeting, once you define what you want to do, then the creative is the most important thing. Like you need to be very aware of that and spend a lot of time on that. Like don't, like all of these are technicalities at the end of the day, but the creative is what will make your ad shine. So there's different ways of doing it, and some people they have very good they have very good results with having a super very nice production type video that you can run as an ad. Some people are more They respond more to user-generated content, which is something that I think you would want to look at as well. So it can be anything by, from videos, testimonial, or even TikTok-friendly video goes really well on Facebook, and even images, like, have images that grab the attention. I'll show you in the next slide an example of an ad that's working really well for link graph, for example, and so you can see why the creative is very important.
Also, could an ad underperform because of the market of the auction, or is it always one of the four? Could it be an external reason? Simon is asking.
Yes, so definitely, as I said before, like, these 4 points are not exhaustive. There's so many different factors. Definitely competition is one of them. The state of the world is one of them. Like, some people are, you need to be very aware of that as well, of when people do hang out on the platforms and when they don't. But again, I would suggest Facebook ads should be part of a broader advertising strategy. So what I always suggest is don't put all of your eggs in one basket, but make sure that the baskets you're using are very strong baskets. So that's why I always suggest, when you go into the platform, each platform, make sure that each platform that you're advertising on is super optimized for what you want to do. For the stuff that you have control over. There's some stuff that you don't have control over. You don't have control over the competition that much. You don't have control over, the state of the market or anything like that. You don't have control over Meta or Facebook as well. You don't have control. So you need to focus on what you can have control of, which is your message, your creative, your targeting, and the way you present your product across the web, not just on Facebook ads. If there's not any other question, I'm going to go to the next slide, Fidan.
Yes, let's move to the next slide.
So this might be a little too small to see for you, but at the end of this webinar, I will be sending you these webinar slides so you can see and explore them for yourself, in case you're missing anything on this presentation. But this is another example that I was talking about before that's working really well for link graph. Again, there's 4 points over here that I want you to focus on that I found are the most important elements of an ad that's performing well. So the first one is placement, and I see this a lot. This is kind of an easy mistake, because Facebook makes it really, really easy to just, turn on your ad and the ad goes everywhere, like literally everywhere, like from feeds to story to marketplace to articles to apps and stuff like that. But the problem is that your placement matters, because you need to understand that your creative, your message needs to be presentable in specific placement. You cannot post a square picture without any context on a story. That wouldn't work. An ad like this wouldn't work on a story. Why? Because the image there itself is just designed to grab the attention of the user, and it ties with the ad copy. But if I were to put just that image, in front of a person on the stories, people would not understand what it was about, and so it wouldn't work. So placement is very important to understand. And if you want to place your ads on multiple placements, which means Facebook feeds, Instagram stories, etc., then you have to make a creative that fits every placement. So, an image that you post on the feed may not be the right format for the story, or it might not be able to convey the message on a story. In that case, you need to go back to the drawing board and either create a separate ads that just goes on the stories, or tweak, an image that you have and make it fit for the stories, if that makes sense. So the placement is really, really important. For this specific ad, for instance, it's only appearing on feeds. And the reason is because, again, the image is designed to grab the attention. The copy describes what, for instance, link graph does, and it ties to the image very nicely. So this thing wouldn't be able to perform as well as an Instagram story, simply because the copy is quite long and the image is a square image, and it's designed to grab the attention. Without the context of the copy, it wouldn't make any sense. So be aware of that. Be mindful of that. The second element is the post, is the creative, is the asset. Again, there's no one cookie cutter solution over here, but I can give you some example. This one is designed to grab your attention, plain and simple. I don't know if you're familiar with the Where's Waldo game, but this is exactly what it is. And it's, the copy simply says, I don't know it on the top of my head, but it's something like, you're tired to play hide and seek with your SEO problems on your Facebook, like you do with Waldo. Here's why you need to use link graph and why it's easy to use it. So you understand that the copy and the image tie themselves very nicely, and it grabs the attention because people see that, they're like, oh, what the hell is that? And then they read the copy, they read the headline, they're like, okay, cool. And they go and they do what you want them to do. So, but that's grabbing the attention, right? And it doesn't always work. So again, this is important to test. Like, I was lucky enough that this works, but sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you need to go back to the drawing board and test again, test other different stuff. Don't put yourself down if something is not working. It just means that it doesn't mean that Facebook ads don't work or anything like that. It just means that you need to find your message. You need to go back to the drawing board and test. In the past, when I worked for these big companies that Fidan said before, the focus was to put as many creatives out there as possible, test as many images as possible, as many videos as possible, as many user generated content as possible, and see what sticks. You kind of need to be like, I like to use the metaphor. You need to be like Netflix, right? What does Netflix do? They have a lot of shows. They put a lot of shows on and see what sticks, and then what sticks, they make season 2, season 3, season 4. And you need to add the same approach with Facebook ads. You need to create a lot of different stuff, which is fun in itself. Just create. There's no wrong thing. Create stuff, put it out there, see what works, and what works, do it again, reiterate, optimize it, make it different, do some subtle changes, and I'll show you as well how to A/B test these things in a second. Then the third element is the headline. The headline is simple. Make it short and clear. That's it. People are on their phone. They scroll. They don't care about, having a long headline. Like, this headline over here is analyze your site SEO. Super simple. Like you know what you need to do. That's it. You don't need to think too much about this. And you can see over there's a call to action. There's a learn more call to action, so people can click on it. There's a try it today, a sub description over there as well, which is part of the headline. It's easy. It's displayable on a mobile phone, so people who are on a mobile phone can see it. And they don't have to, it's not cropped or anything like that. So make it short, make it sweet, and make it very, very clear of what you want them to do. Ad copy, we just talked about it briefly before, but again, test. Do different ad copy testing. So, test one with bullet points, one long, one short, one's funny, one is formal. Test them all together and see what clicks. So in the Facebook ads interface, when you create an ad, you will see that it will give you an option to create up to 5 ad copies that will rotate evenly, and Facebook will choose which one resonates more with the target demographic. And I suggest you do that. I suggest you do, if you have 5 options, do them all. Use them all 5. Do one that is bullet point, long, short, funny, formal, etc., and see what works. Because in your reporting, then you will be able to see what combination got clicked the most and what combination gave you the most conversions. And then you will understand, okay, cool, this is what works with my audience. And again, let's do season 2, season 3, right? Let's reiterate, let's optimize based on that. And then I'll show you here quickly an A/B testing example. So over here you can see, let's say you run an ad on different demographic, right? Like you target people from 18 years old to 60 plus years old with an ad. And then you let it run for a week, 2 weeks, and then you go back to your reporting and you realize, okay, the majority of the people who are engaging with the ads are people in the 25 to 45 demographic range. What makes them click, right? So you take that demographic specifically that is performing well for you, and you test an element against them. In this case, I made an example here of two versions. So you do a copy with a bullet point and no bullet points ad copy. Put it against the demographic, the specific demographic 25 to 45, see what clicks. If you see that 70% of that demographic responds better to the version number one that you see over there, cool. Use the winning version and test something else against it. Test a different creative, test a different messaging, test something else. It's very important also to, when you do A/B testing, to test one element at a time. What does that mean? When you do an A/B test for any ad, which by the way, I always suggest to constantly do, never run an ad just like that by itself. Always test something, even a small variable. It could be an ad copy, it could be a different image, it could be a different call to action even, or different landing page. But the most important thing is to not test multiple variables at once. So if you want to just test the landing page, focus on that. Don't change anything else in your ad. See how that performs. And then when you have results on how that performs, you're confident that, okay, landing page 1 performs better than landing page 2. Then just focus on using landing page 1, but put something else in the test. And at that point, you can test a different ad copy, or you can test a different image, but always one element at a time. And the reason why you want to do one element at a time is because when you find something that works, if you're testing just one element at a time, then you know what is working and what's not working. Whereas if you test a lot of things together, then you will not be capable of understanding what element that you change was the one that drove the best performance. So don't shoot yourself in the foot in that sense, and just test one variable at a time. Have control of what you're putting in front of people. And Fidan, I don't know if there's any question. If there's any question, just stop me.
Yeah, don't worry.
Thank you. So these are, then we're gonna go a little bit into, this is the last point, which is the advanced techniques you need to look into. So these are very important things. These 3 things that you see on screen are things that are going to be very central for advertising in the future, not only on Facebook ads, but in this case, we're talking about Facebook ads. But it's something that you need to be up to speed, whether you run ads yourself or you use an agency to run ads. You need to make sure that you're on top of these things, or the agency is on top of these things, because it's very, very important. The first element and the first advanced technique that I would like you to look into is the custom conversions. So custom conversions is basically creating events on your website that you want to track and are very important to you, right? So for instance, if your website with a button, like a contact form button or something like that, people, they want to become a lead and they send a contact form, you need to make sure that that event, the contact form sent successfully, is tracked on your website. And you need to make sure that that event is communicated back to Facebook. And that's how you create custom conversions, right? So you go to Facebook, you create a custom conversion based on an event that you're tracking. How to track the events? Very different options over there. You can talk to your developer, but I like to use Google Tag Manager. But you can use very different things, but make sure that your tracking is on point. If you have specific events on your website that you need to make sure you're tracking properly. So once you track, once you have these events defined and they are custom conversions for you, the Facebook algorithm will then know that these are events that are important to you. And if you use conversion-based advertising on your ads, then Facebook will make sure that they will show your ad to people that are more likely to um, to do the events that you set them up for, right? So people who are more likely to send a contact form if that's your event. But it's a long process. Just know that. But it's important for you to start tracking stuff on your website and start to feed that data back into Facebook, so that Facebook knows what audience is the best resonant audience for your strategy. And this allows you as well to build a full funnel strategy, because you can be, at the awareness stage, you get as many people as possible into your website, and then you put another ad in front of them with the goal of converting them into the action that you want them to do. And another thing is, if you have an action that is very bottom of the funnel, like let's say people need to go through multiple pages to actually become a client or make a purchase. I'm going to give you an example of a clothing store, right? So if a clothing store, the clothing store funnel is, I click on an ad, go on the product page, then I need to select my product, go into the checkout, and then from the checkout, I need to check out, purchase, and then I receive a thank you confirmation. In that case, I wouldn't suggest to go straight for the kill of like, okay, I want people who reach the thank you confirmation page, but I would personally do something that is easier for the Facebook algorithm to understand, which is checkout. So you customize, you say, get me as many checkouts as possible. And then that would be easier for the Facebook algorithm to get you, because there are going to be way more people that are going to check out, that are going to reach the checkout point versus people who are going to purchase straight out the bat. And it's going to save you a lot of money. You're just paying for exactly what you want. When your people reach the checkout page, at that point, then you can be like, okay, how many people who reached the checkout page then went to the next stage? And then you can understand, if you have enough data, then tell Facebook, hey, this is great. I'm receiving, 100, 150 checkout visits per month. Let's try to get purchases now. So you tell Facebook, okay, let's optimize for purchases now. And they will try to funnel that down. So it's a broad topic, but there's resources that also I will send you on custom conversions that I really suggest you go and look at to set yourself up for success with this. The second advanced technique is custom audience, and in particular, customer list. So custom audiences, what they do, they allow you to reach your email list members or people who use specific features in your app, if you have an app, or people who engage with your content. So people who engage with your Facebook page, Facebook post, with your ads, with your videos, people who watch a specific length of your videos and stuff like that. Why custom audiences are important, specifically customer list audiences are important. It all ties back to the privacy issue and changes that are happening. So it's very important to understand that you need to have control of the audiences that you're targeting. And the best way is to have first-party data. First-party data is data that you collect yourself, is people who go to your website and fill out a form, and then you grab, their first name, last name, email, etc., etc. When you go to Facebook, many of the targeting options are based on interest. So for instance, you can be, okay, people who are interested in sports goods or whatever, or on candles or whatever it is, right? But the problem with that is that you don't really have control of what you're targeting, because it's very specific. Facebook tells you in the terms and condition of their service that Facebook will try to get your ads in front of people, even if they don't match the interest that you're selecting. Okay, So you might see sometimes that you're trying to target people, but then you're like, oh, who the hell are these people who are liking and commenting on my ad? It doesn't make any sense. And that's because sometimes Facebook has a hard time with these things. And especially if people, are very privacy aware right now. They ask app not to track. They decline personal advertising and all of that stuff. So if they do, then you cannot reach them. The best way to reach them is to have an email list that you have, email list, names and last names, any data that you can from a specific target demographic, and use that as your targeting. So you can go to Facebook, upload your list. Facebook will match your email list to actual users on Facebook, and you will be able to target them. Now, how do you get those emails? It's up to you. If you have a newsletter, that would be a good place to start. If you grab leads with contact forms, that's a very good place to start as well. Or you can work with a data provider. So work with people companies whose solely job is to actually gather data. Go to them, make sure that the data is clean, is high quality, and the people who are in the list are okay to receive ads and marketing. You need to make sure that these things are in place so that you don't get sued or you don't get any, because this is very delicate stuff, especially if you're targeting in Europe as well. There's a lot of GDPR rules over there, so it's very important that you're compliant with this, and there's amazing resources out there for you to be able to be compliant, to make sure that your cookies are set up correctly. But make sure that who you're targeting are the right audience for you. If your niche and target them. And if you don't have that data, instead of trying and bang your head against, oh, maybe these people, if I put people interested in candles, maybe, I'll sell my candles. Instead of doing that, work with a data provider that can provide you with actual people who are interested in candles and that you can target across Facebook. The third advanced technique, go ahead, Fidan.
So David is asking, when running an on Facebook lead ad, is there any custom conversions that you should also be tracked back in this case or not in this case?
So when you run, when you say lead generation, David, I assume that you're talking about Facebook lead forms. And in that case, no, not really. Like, you just need to, at the end of the day, the way you track it is based on you. Like, I see people not tracking anything and just trusting the process and be like, look, I want to reach this number of people. And then they go into the back end, if they are lead generation business, they go into their HubSpot, into their CRM, and they look over there and see, okay, cool. These are people who came from Facebook ad and converted and became leads, etc., etc. So, like, the answer is it depends. But if you're running lead form generation ads, at that point, you can see exactly how many people submitted the lead form. So you don't need to use another custom conversion. Custom conversions are more for actions that are taken on the site directly, and for stuff that is kind of very obscure, like if people have to press a lot of buttons, or your funnel is 2-3 more steps and stuff like that, then you want to be able to track all of the steps. You want to be able to track if people click on a phone number sometimes and stuff like that. So, but for stuff more like lead form that appear on Facebook and people don't even have to go to your website to fill, no, you don't need a custom conversion for that. Can you send close lead backs and will it get smarter? I guess what I was asking. Yes, definitely. Yes, you can do that. So once you have leads that converted from a Facebook ad, you can go back to Facebook and upload those events and say to Facebook, hey, these were good events. I want more of this. But the most important thing for that is to have a little bit of data. So you need to be running ads for a little bit of time and have a lot of people who actually closed that came from Facebook ads before you can optimize. So if you have like 2, 3, 4 leads that converted, I suggest to wait and to have a little bit more than that. There's not really a minimum number, but the fact is that the more close leads you get from Facebook and you send back to Facebook, the better and faster Facebook will be to optimize towards those. Otherwise, it's going to take just a long time. And if you have only like two conversions and you send it back to Facebook, then Facebook will have a hard time to find them, and it will just take you a lot of time, and sometimes the ads will not even deliver. So don't cut yourself short in that, but keep sending leads back to Facebook. But before you optimize for those, just make sure that you have a lot of data to work with. And the last point over there in the advanced techniques that I want you to look onto is a privacy first approach. Again, be very mindful. Again, I'll be sending you resources for this, so you will be able to see directly from the source what all this entails. But be up to speed with the iOS tracking limitations, with the Facebook Pixel capabilities. So right now with Facebook, you can only track, I believe it's 8 events. So that's the maximum that the Pixel can grab. So make sure that you prioritize for what's important to you. Make sure you are up to speed with GDPR and with cookie policy on your website. Make sure you give options to people to opt out of your advertising or opt into your advertising. That's very important. People may not look at it right now as too much of a problem, but trust me, it is, and you want to be compliant with these things because I don't know if you look at the news on digital marketing at all, but big companies like Meta and Google get sued for billions of dollars all the time because sometimes there are privacy breaches like that, and you don't want to be in that. You don't want to be in that position, and you want to make sure that the people who you're going after are actually people who you want to go after, and they are okay with you to go after them. And there's also another important thing that I didn't mention before, but like keep in mind, once you get the person to purchase or to get the sale or whatever, leave them alone for some time. Don't blast them with retargeting ads and like, oh, I want you to buy more services, or I want you to buy more more t-shirts or whatever you're selling. Just leave them alone. They purchase with you, great. You have them on your database, on your list, whatever. When you have a new product launch in like 2, 3, 4 weeks time or whatever, a new service or something they might be interested in, cool, target them with ads. Otherwise, leave them alone because nobody likes to be spammed. So this also goes to the privacy first approach. You need to make sure that you're treating your customers and your viewers right. And that's why privacy is so important. So I really suggest you to go and look into that. Make sure that your website is compliant with cookies. Make sure you're tracking the right events, the events that you are prioritizing with your Facebook pixel, and be aware of the iOS tracking limitation. Be aware that your reports may not be as accurate, but always go and look at your backend. If you're a sales type of business like e-commerce, see your purchase data. See actually how many sales you got. Don't look into Facebook and be like, okay, Facebook tells me that I got 25 sales. No, just go into your actual sales, like how many sales did you get, and then you can attribute that back into Facebook. If you're a lead generation business, same thing. Don't just trust Facebook like that. Just go into your CRM and see like, okay, these leads were generated by Facebook. So be aware of that, because Facebook is not able to track a lot of things, and if you have an iPhone and you said ask app not to track when you open your Facebook, then Facebook is not able to report that to the advertiser if you click on that. So that's very important to understand and to be aware of. And that leads me to the end of the webinar. So if you, and it was very high level, otherwise the webinar would have been probably 6 to 8 hours. But I'm always available to answer any question. We at LinkGraph offer Facebook and Instagram ads management. alongside SEO and a lot of other array of services. So definitely, if you need any help, if you want to dig more deeper into any of the topics that we touch in this webinar, please reach out to us. You can reach out to the email that you see on the screen, or you can go simply to our website and contact us from there. So after this webinar, you will be receiving an email with these slides so that you can go back at them, see them, watch them again. And then you also have access to a replay of the webinar. And also from that email, feel free to reply back if you want to have a strategy session with me, or if you need to ask any other question, I'm always available.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for the insightful information. And thanks everyone for joining us today. We will have more webinars upcoming on February for the 2023. So make sure you guys follow us on the social media and you check your emails from LinkGraph.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Fidan.
Bye-bye.